have any questions or concerns we'd like to bring to our Zone 1 officers? This is the time where if you've seen something or if you want to follow up on a case. Sam, go ahead.
Okay, the bank robbery.
The Mount Troy bank robbery, yes.
That's like third one in 10 years. They come down behind Veronica Street, of course, but they don't notify any of us at our houses that there's a possible bank robber behind our houses.
Yes.
Can they address that, the city of any like notifications or anything like that?
Did you hear that, Officer Eric? You're on mute. I'm not sure if you want to unmute.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. Technology. When you say notifications, are you referring to notifications from those law enforcement agencies to us so we can then get it out to the people in the community?
There was police officers on our street, but they didn't notify any of the residents. They were, they don't walk on our doors because our backyards face that. So we don't know if that guy's going to come in our yards or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. I'm sure it's disheartening looking out your back window and seeing police officers running around and you're wondering what's going on, especially when you hear that there was a bank robbery. What I can say about that is we try to do as much of that as we can, but it's always situation specific and it depends on, the situation as it's developing. That situation was developing pretty quickly. It didn't really when the officers arrived initially, it didn't allow them much time to start knocking on doors and telling residents because they were running through thinking this guy might be behind these houses or in the wooded area. So their main goal when they got there was searching to find. Now, if we come into a situation where we think it's safe enough to do so and we have enough time, for instance, if we made a perimeter and we thought we had the suspect pinned in this perimeter, okay, in a situation like that, that might allow us some more time to knock on some doors, say, hey, you might want to go to your basement, let people know what's going on. So we try to do that as much as we possibly can. It's situation specific and it depends on how everything plays out.
Okay, it's like the third time in 10 years.
That bank is, I guess, it's popular.
There was an arrest made, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, there was an arrest made.
Originally, they said he was from Shaler, then they changed it.
Yeah, I saw the mugshot, but I didn't read anything else into it.
Yeah, he had a number of addresses. He had a number of addresses he had used, some for his photo ID, other addresses he had used for other arrests he had. So it's really not clear where he actually lives. But sometimes, a lot of times, these people they're not as responsible as most people. They don't change their address on their ID every time they move, and sometimes it's a little difficult pinning down exactly where they're from or where they live. And sometimes they're transient as well too.
Got it. Thank you for that update. Any other concerns for our Zone 1 police that we want to raise? As always, we'll share our officers' email addresses. They would love to hear from us. I'm going to
drop my email address and my phone number in the chat. If anybody needs it, or wants to know about a specific issue or anything going on, just shoot me a text message or send me an email and I'll get back to you. One thing I can add, we're in the process of creating one website that we can give to people in the community to send us crime tips about anything they see going on or anything that's concerning. So we have all information coming from all the neighborhoods into one email address. When we have that set up, we had to go through the city to do that. Once we have it set up, we will disseminate it to everybody so you guys have it.
Great. I spoke too soon. I see Ben and then Valerie both had their hands raised on Zoom. Ben, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, I just, people ignoring pretty much any and all traffic laws continues to be a problem throughout the entire neighborhood.
Right.
People are blowing through stop signs. People are not yielding to pedestrians. I mean, just like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I keep submitting 311 complaints. I've submitted for traffic calming. I've done all sorts of things. I've yet to see an officer just hanging around an intersection. I've yet to see anyone from the city come out to do anything as far as any kind of improvements to infrastructure. So I just kind of at wit's end. I don't know if I should just start recording people and jotting down license plate numbers. Like,
I'm sorry, which intersection are you saying in general or a specific intersection?
I mean, I can name at least 5 off the top of my head that people regularly blow through all day.
Yeah, I know. It's all on North Side. We have it all over. We're doing the best. We're
If I'm
trying to
being
get
very
to.
honest, I've seen cop cars do it too, and I've seen people do it in front of cops, and I've not seen anything happen. So like,
Right. Yeah, I know. I've seen it all too, just like you have. The 311 complaints, keep submitting those, or submit them for anything you see, because they do eventually get assigned to a specific officer. What I can say though is, we check those as often as we can, and when we can. We still have a very, very high call volume this time of year, and our manpower is down. So a lot of times, our officers are going from one call to another with very little time in between. But we're trying our best to address those. When our manpower gets a little bit better, we'll be able to free people up a little bit. But we're doing the best we can. What I would say though, aside from putting in 311 complaints, send me an email as well. And then I could bring it to the attention of one of the supervisors or the executive officer, and see if we can get somebody on it that day. But we're trying the best we can.
okay.
Valerie?
I have more of a specific concern that may not be like for everyone. I left a voicemail with you a couple weeks ago. Would it be better for me to email or text you?
Oh, no. Yeah, absolutely. Send me a text message or send me an email. I'm having a heck of a time with AT&T. I'm not getting voicemails. People are saying they've been leaving them for me. It's been going on for at least 2 months now. But I either one, don't get any notification or any voicemail that someone said they left for me, or I get a notification for the email, and when I go to look at it, it's 7 days old. So
Right.
yeah,
I've been there.
I didn't move or anything, and so AT&T, they're actually sending me a new free phone because of it. So, but
Nice.
so yeah, right now until I get that figured out, text messages and email is absolutely the best way.
Okay. Could you I was a little late, so could someone please throw that information back in the chat because I don't see it.
It's not there yet. I'm going to put it in there before I leave.
All right, even better. Thank you. That was it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Officer Eric, for spending his evening with us for a couple minutes. Okay.
Thanks,
anything
guys.
else? Good. All right. On to the next thing. I see Jackie from Representative Powell's office. Jackie, would you like to give us a quick update?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. So some things going on in the community. Coming up, along with the treasurer's office at the county, we're gonna be having a dog licensing event. So that will be on Friday, June 21st, and that will be from 2 to 6 p.m. in Arsenal Park. I'll drop everything that I'm saying in the chat as well. I know I'm probably throwing around a lot of different dates at you. So that'll be from 2 to 6 p.m. You can get your dog license, as well as we'll have some local vendors from the area coming out. You can buy dog treats. I think we might have the dog ice cream, Salty Paws there. So it'll be a fun event in the park. As well, the property tax rent rebate program, the deadline was June 30th, but it has been extended to the end of the year, so December 31st, so people can still apply past June 30th for it. That's for relief on your property taxes or rent. We can help apply for that in our office. As well as one last thing, the senior farmers market vouchers, the distribution date has been set for the county. That will be June 25th this year. And it will be at most local senior centers. Again, in our office, we can send you a list of places that will be having the distributions, the different senior centers, as well as the time. So we'll be having them on June 25th. And so, yeah, that's basically what's going on, all the updates we have. And again, I'll put everything in the chat.
Thank you, Jackie. There's a question in the chat about service dogs. Can service dogs with prescriptions, can they also get their free license at that event?
That is a good question. If they're through the County, like through the Allegheny County Treasurer's Office, I would believe they would have all types of licensing there. But if you drop your email in the chat, I will ask specifically with the Treasurer's Office to make sure that those can be available as well, or see if they will be there for you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And Jackie, would you mind dropping your email in the chat as well, just in case anybody has any questions?
Yes, of course. I'll put that in there with everything else.
Fabulous. Any questions for Representative Powell's office?
Do you have to bring your dog to the event?
I believe you have to bring your dog to the event, correct? Is that correct, Jackie, to have it licensed on site for free?
That is also a really great question. I do not believe so, but again, that is something I can check to make sure. And I will get back to whoever needs that information just to so they know if they have to bring their dog or not. But it is in the park, so obviously all dogs are welcome.
Yeah, you can send it to the Troy Hill Pittsburgh email address, and we can help share that news around.
Okay, perfect. I'll get those 2 questions answered for everyone.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's see. Who is next? I want to quickly go over to Leanne from the city. She has an update on Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, which is coming to Pittsburgh. Go for it, Leanne.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to come on here and say thank you for having me at your annual yard sale. I think we signed up 13 kids that day for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which is amazing. So the program is a free book program for kids under 5. Every kid that's in the city is eligible for the program, and they receive a book every month in the mail until their 5th birthday. And for their 5th birthday, they get a Getting Ready for Kindergarten book. So it's a really great program. I'm going to drop the Reading Ready Pittsburgh website in the chat. If anyone's interested in signing someone up for the program, you can go on to the website and do it. I'll also put my information in the chat. If anyone has any questions about the program or would like to sign someone up, you can reach out to me and I can help you with that. So we're just spreading the word about the program and trying to get as many kids signed up for it as possible.
Amazing. Thank you for coming to our yard sale. I know it was a little rainy for those of you that were out there, but so great. Get kids their free books. We love to see that. By the way, for folks in the room, if any of this is interesting to you and you want to stop up at the end, I can write down any of the information in the chat for you, or I can take down your email address, or I could take your address and mail you anything you need. So for those of you not seeing the contact information in the Zoom chat. Fabulous. Thanks, Leanne. Super appreciate that. I think next on our agenda, we have two special guests. Well, we have multiple special guests in the audience, but I think we're going to go to Chad Chalmers of Wildman & Chalmers Design, and Gordon Hall from the URA is here as well, representing, if you all are familiar, the city is interested in developing, in conjunction with the URA, the firehouse. It's at the corner of Lay and Lowry near the monument on Froman Street. And we're right at the corner of Froman. And Chad and his team have been working really diligently behind the scenes with the URA to get this project moving forward. Chad, you want to give us an update on this, and we can have a little discussion?
Sure, absolutely. Process has been going on, it's taken a while.
While you're speaking, let me just make sure. Can you all hear Chad, or should I ask him to come up to the front?
If he can come up, that would be better.
Amazing. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, thank you so much, Chad. Have a seat in the front.
Great. So my business partner and I have been working on the Troy Hill Firehouse redevelopment for, it's almost been 2.5 years. We responded to the request for a proposal what the city puts out. It's a city-owned firehouse, and we were awarded the request. And we've been diligently doing all of our work behind the scenes. We are currently fully funded. We have all the money in place. We have all the building permits, and we have all the zoning. And we've actively had it up for lease for probably about a year now. We've paid to advertise the leasing, and we told the community we would be putting a food-related space in there. Now, after a year, we have to decide one way or another. And since we told you we would do food, we wanted to make sure to come to you guys and tell you our options at this point are we have to look at another use, or we have to walk away from this. And unfortunately, right now we own 4 buildings in the Troy Hill area. We own the old doctor's office. We own the old hotel. We own 15 1525, 1527, and 1408 Lowry, which have been all renovated, newly renovated, high-quality apartments in the Troy Hill area. Now, unfortunately, I do not want to walk away from this. Like we've spent upwards of $25,000 on permitting. The URA has a deposit on the property as well. And so I'm coming to you today to say these are our options. And there isn't a lot of developers out there that are investing in Troy Hill actively. I think you guys used our parking lot for your yard sale or what have you. And, you know, we support Troy Hill citizens. So we're here today to say, I'm just be open and say, we have the option of looking at other tenants, or we have the option of basically having to walk away from it because it's been 2.5 years. And I'm going to turn it over to Gordon for a minute so Gordon can tell you a little bit about what he does in the URA and what he feels we've done as our own due diligence. So
I'll move up for those that are online so you guys can hear me. For those of you that haven't met me, my name is Gordon Hall. I'm a project manager with the Urban Redevelopment Authority. And as Chad says, for the last, since November of 2021, so that would be for the last 2.5 years or almost 3 years now, I've been managing the redevelopment of the Troy Hill Firehouse. The city owns this building, but the city has tasked the Redevelopment Authority with finding a developer for the space. Throughout that process, and some of you in this room were actually on our review committee, we selected Chad and his team because they were, based on the review committee's opinion, was the best firm for the job. The URA still believes this. We've had a really good working relationship with Chad and Wildman and Chalmers. We see that the work that they have done in the neighborhood, but the realities of the market conditions and the trickiness of this space being a historic building, have led to a few tenants being really interested in leasing the space, but unfortunately dropping out when they were not able to make the numbers work. So, on behalf of the URA, we're interested in still working with Wildman and Chalmers and Chad, and we're interested in whatever uses the expanded search may bring in. It's also, I'll leave the group with this before we open it up to questions, is whatever use comes in from this expanded search, we would have to approach this group again to get a letter of support, as well as District 1 and Councilman Wilson's office. So really what we're asking is just for a little flexibility in terms of the types of uses that we could see in this space, with the understanding that this won't be the last time you hear from us if we do receive a viable tenant for the space. And of course, being such an important location in the business district, we want to see something good come from this. So without going on any longer, I'll pause there for any questions, or if Chad, if you want to add anything else.
Yeah, and I think that it's important to my business partner and myself that we bring a quality tenant to the space. We don't want a vape shop, right? We don't want things like that. They're not what we want. I mean, you can see what we've developed already. We've brought into the neighborhood. It's been difficult to lease up here. It took us almost a year to bring in the lighting shop. We now have a lighting shop and we have a tenant that's selling retail lights for your homes and shades and everything else. So it's not easy to lease up here. And I'd like to say it was. We've tried to bring a tenant into the old daycare 3 times to help the owner with that. And I think we only want what's best, but we're kind of put in this position where, I can't tell you who's going to be in there because right now the lease posting says for retail or food only. So we're not even taking other options such as, office space or some other type of use that isn't even being asked for right now.
What if someone wants to make it living space?
The living space is
cost too high for that?
It is. Unfortunately, it's the sprinkler system. We would have to convert it into a sprinkler system. The other thing is, I felt as though the living space wasn't serving the community, right? We said that if we were to buy the building, we wanted to give it back to the community. It's a community building, We wanted to redevelop it so everyone can use it and it's not someone's private residence. Someone submitted already for a private residence and they turned them down because they felt as though a city-owned building shouldn't be bought and turned into a private space.
And if it were to be turned into housing, it would be in the sort of luxury condominium style.
I'm not even talking like a condo. I know quite a few that were turned into, and not just in this city, but everywhere, that were turned into single family house, you know, their own personal, be it they were an architect and had their offices on the first floor, things like that.
I'm not going to let that
That's
happen.
just my question.
No architect.
Our firm is an architect.
And again, I apologize, I'm not from Troy Hill, but I am from Troy Hill. I was born and raised on Veronica Street. Most of my family still, I have a lot of family here. I was here when the VFW burned down, because my dad made me come down with all my young friends and got it so they could rebuild it.
Oh, wow.
But I'm here for another reason about Riverview Park. But anyway.
Oh, sure. Oh, great. Okay, yes. So that's a great question. And I think in terms of the space that we have in our business district in Troy Hill, it's not a big space, right? And I think there are we can all identify a few key buildings that are really, important to the character and the feeling of not just our business district, but the neighborhood. The firehouse is one of them. Of course, we would love to see a building be used in any circumstance, right? Occupancy is always great. But in this particular case, I think our neighborhood really feels that this is meant to be a business that the neighbors can interact with. Chad and the team do an amazing job with historical renovations. This could really be a beautiful showcase of a piece in our neighborhood. And I think that's the reason why that committee, I wasn't on it, but I know to speak to their findings, they chose your proposal because it allowed for the neighborhood to interact with that space. So again, I'm not speaking on behalf of everyone, but I do think that this is a reasonable request for our neighbors to consider. Again, we want this space to be used. Chad and his team are really bought into this project. They're bought into the neighborhood. And I think that they still have the best chance of executing this in a way that brings that historical accuracy, renovates the building, brings in a tenant that everybody wants to see, communication with the neighbors. And thank you, Chad, again, for keeping us in the loop, and Gordon for keeping us in the project loop. So anybody have any other questions, comments? Mackenzie, I see you in the back.
Absolutely. The problem is what's called capitalization rate, which means that there's only so much money you can put into the building that will support the rent. In Troy Hill right now, $12 a square foot is what the going rent is. The going rent in Lawrenceville right now is $35 to $45 a square foot, which is almost 3 to 4 times as much as we can support up here. So to put in a hood, I have a price for a hood to do exactly what you're talking about. It's $150,000, right? So the problem is if you amortize that, the rent goes beyond $12 a square foot, and it doesn't make sense in the market. One of the highest paying rent tenants in Troy Hill is us. We pay our own building back at $25 a square foot. Don't tell the bankers that, but my point is that people don't pay that kind of money up here, and it's only because we own the building and pay it back. Does that make sense? That the finances are not working to put a restaurant in.
But even if you have multiple businesses paying into that rent, because it seems like the cost of the problem for those businesses. So if they split it up into smaller, for them to just operate.
Absolutely. We tried it with a brewer in a combination with a local restaurateur up here. We tried doing multiple leases where there'd be a master tenant, and that tenant would lease it to the brewer, to the grocery store. I mean, we specialize in restaurants. I've done over 60 restaurants in the city of Pittsburgh. And I've reached out to all of those restaurateurs, reached out to a number of people to share that. The challenge is that the numbers just don't work because the rent's just not there.
I have 2 comments online. Valerie said, what about leasing for shared community organization, meeting space, or youth programming? And then she also added, I say offer other options rather than walking away from the space. So thank you for your opinion, Valerie. I just want to comment on the first part of that, which is the community organization or meeting space. So we'll talk shortly about our Cali Rec Center project, which we would hope, as if you're familiar with that project, the city is looking to demolish and rebuild in the next couple years. Troy Hill citizens from that standpoint, we really want to see the city investing in those rec centers again. And so from a youth programming, or for instance, like a meeting space like we're having now, from a long-term perspective, we're really looking at Cali Rec Center for that kind of thing too. So just a note about that. And then we have another question in the chat. Pat Campbell, he says the lease price currently is $5,800. Taxes around $8,000. He said, is that per month?
The taxes would be on an annual basis, and then the rental would be on a monthly basis.
Got it. So Pat, rental monthly, taxes annually. Please feel free to drop any other questions that you have in the chat. And I understand, Gordon, that price, as we talked about, how you're looking at other URA programs and projects. This price is benchmarking with all of the costs, to other programs, correct?
Well, I think that if there was an interested tenant that, Chad brought to the URA, we would be interested in working with that tenant through our commercial lending process, which offers small business loans, startup assistance. There's a gamut of their offerings throughout their portfolio. I don't work in commercial lending, but we would certainly be happy to assist, a good tenant if they were to come. And I don't know, recently if there have been any.
Our investment after purchasing the building would be $400,000 to get it to what's called a vanilla box. A vanilla box means it has working heat, electric, and water. Right now, there is a boiler that's probably about 50 years old. There's no air conditioning. So really, to get $400,000 gets us to that vanilla box point. And the way this works is, without going into too much detail, the investment of $750,000 put into capitalization rates, which the banks look at. All the banks want these numbers, right? I've got two bankers nodding their heads right here. Like, my numbers are with no meat on the bone. This is us making no money on it. I mean, you could see we wanted to develop it because I fell in love with the building, right? So there is no margin on that, as minimal as the bank would take on it. So that's the challenge, is that the cost to renovate these old buildings are so much more money because it's beautiful. It's terracotta. It's white brick. I mean, the roof on that building, everything costs so much more money.
So 400 is the build out to get it to vanilla box. So 750 is total, like,
correct,
including acquisition.
Investment, yeah.
All right, just to clarify.
So we do a lot of historic tax credits. So for every historic tax credit dollar you get, you probably need to spend 20 to 25 cents to get that. So there's money in consultants, there's sales of the tax credits. It's very complicated, and there's a threshold of about $500,000 to $1 million that you need to be at to make that deal work. And the other piece is that people want to invest in the tenants, not necessarily the landlord. So my problem is I get it to a vanilla box point, and they want to invest in the part that actually gets it over the finish line.
Yeah, please. So I think, just to clarify with what Valerie was asking about, could it theoretically be like a community organization? I think from what you're saying, anyone who could satisfy the terms and the cost of the lease, they're open to,
That's
right?
it, yeah.
And so, because I mean, like, I'm thinking about the nonprofit that I work for has like an $8,000 lease. Like I'm just thinking like that's within the realm of possibility if they were able to, like, if any group is able to satisfy the terms of the lease. And I know, like, we've kind of like, even as Troy Hill citizens, we've tried to work with some nonprofit options. Of course, like, just nothing quite lined up. Nothing really worked out. But I think that's something you're open to. So anyone who could satisfy it sounds like.
And unfortunately, I'm sure you don't pay anything for the use of the VFW now, correct?
Thank you, Sam.
So,
Yeah.
Zero rent doesn't support the $750,000 mortgage. And I'm just being realistic on it. And that's where it comes down to economics. And I think I'm going to ask Gordon a question. I'm going to lead him in. Gordon, how many projects are you running in the URA?
Over a dozen, probably 15.
How many projects have their stuff together, including permitting, zoning, community approval, and financing together?
Well, probably the last bit, which is fully financed is what's going to take all the other projects out. This is the only project that I'm currently working on that is fully financed.
So would you say, is it fair to say that we have our stuff together in terms of what we're doing? I mean, I do this.
Yeah.
I'm involved with teaching real estate development at Carnegie Mellon. It's not like I'm just, doing this. So if I'm not trying to say, if I walk away, it won't happen. But if I walk away, it's going to be another 2 to 5 years guaranteed before someone's going to get back into this. And I'm not asking you to approve a blank slate for me to put anything in here today. I'm saying, can I veer away from a food service and then come back to you in a month or when I have this tenant and say, can we look at this tenant?
Yeah.
Cat's proposal is the first option, and since I have, understanding that it's supposed to do that. So I'm curious from the committee's perspective and from the community's perspective, like what, do you have ideas of what might come if you open it up? Are there other business options you see working out for this space? Like, what is your kind of vision of what might happen next?
It's hard to tell. The leasing market is the strangest it's ever been in many years, right? The office market is dead. Look at downtown right now. I don't know, but I'm willing to at least talk to different businesses, entertain different ideas. It could be, it could be a distribution, it could be a startup thing, it could be whatever it is that could satisfy that. And right now we haven't had anyone go through the building in a year. No one's even wanted to walk through it. Yeah. There's been a couple hits. I can see how many people, a couple thousand people have looked at it, but no one has asked to go walk through it.
I see a question on the Zoom from Ben, if you can unmute.
Yeah, I am I'm in favor of opening this up as wide as it needs to be because I'd love to see that building get used. I think I have sort of two questions. One is, has there been any talk about breaking the 2 floors up? I know it's just the spiral staircase. There's a huge cost involved in doing any kind of access to the 2nd floor, and that's obviously a barrier, but I could see a world where office space on the 2nd floor and something more community engaging on the 1st floor might satisfy both the community as well as the financial side of things, as well as maybe being more lucrative because that's a large square footage and a large building for a single tenant to take on right now. And then 2 is there anything that we as a community can do to help bring prospective tenants, clients, et cetera, into contact with you other than just giving you your contact information directly?
So I'll address them one at a time. Yes, we've looked at adding the spiral staircase doesn't meet building code. So we have to add 2 spiral staircases, 2 full staircases, which are 200 square feet apiece. The building is 2,200 square feet. So if I take 400 out of the 2,200 leasable right now, there's not a lot of space left. And then if I respect the front garage doors where the engines used to come in, I almost have so little space left. So to answer your question, we've tried stairs, we've tried looking at variances from the city to not have to put that in there. And so I would love to find an option. If someone came to us and said, we'll rent it for you for this amount of money and it covers the cost of the stairs. Now keep in mind, when I say covers the cost, we're still coming up with 25% loan to value, which means that we're putting down 25% of our money and the bank is loaning the other 75%, if that makes sense. So it's not as though we're going to the bank and the bank is just throwing us money. In this lending market, which is the worst lending market in my life, and I'm not that old, I'm almost 50, this is the worst lending market I've ever seen. I've been developing real estate for over 20 years. So the problem is that if we put 2 new stairs in, it's going to have to raise the rent, right? So, and then the second question was,
what can the neighborhood do to help other than just send them to you?
I mean, if we put the new listing out there and I can send it to Abby and have her drop it in the chat and promote it and say, hey, here's a cool space. The gentleman that owns the old Incline, I call him the mayor. He owns, what is it? Yes, he's the mayor of Troy Hill. And so he put his thing out there and it went out to the different medias, the different email blasts, things like that. that could be great. I mean, if anyone, I'd love to entertain ideas, especially if we had someone that would want to do that. I think we'd even entertain a partnership where we would purchase the building and they could have some equity in the building, and we'd even sell them back the building over time. I sit on the Community Development Corporation in Wilkinsburg, and that Community Development Corporation, we buy buildings and then we empower the people that buy the buildings to be able to buy them back at a slower rate, so they're not just paying rent their entire time. So we'd be open to all kinds of creative solutions. So someone had equity and skin in the game. I mean, we try anything, but right now we just can't get. Restaurants are not investing in their buildings. They're taking second generation restaurant space because the restaurants absolutely got crushed over COVID. We have no lunch place up here right now. I mean, Defer is open sporadically. Scratch is now closed. I mean, there's, I work up here every day, and Grubhub comes to our office for our employees every day because there's no place to go. So, I mean, we want food as much as you guys do. I have 24 people that would like food. So if there's a creative solution, I'd love to hear it. We'd be open to anything, but right now we're not getting anything. Even if it was someone that wanted to distribute food and have some small grocery or something like that. But right now, we're looking for a pretty specific food preparation space.
Yes, I just want to say, as the person who lives across from this project, I am, very, very open. I'm totally down with opening it up. And I also like the fact that this process, in conjunction with the URA, does give us the opportunity to come back together and have that discussion again, like once a tenant is identified. And also, I just want to say, like, Chad, when we do neighborhood cleanups, you're out there, your kid's out there with us. You've always been really generous with your space and when we've had community events. And to me, like, that's the type of person that I would like to see in our neighborhood who's doing this type of development. And so, like, I see that investment. And so, yeah, I'm totally willing. Like, I personally feel very comfortable with opening it up and seeing what happens.
Thank you.
Yes, just to repeat / ask a question. I think that what you said and also what Gordon said was that the community would still kind of have a part in reviewing any proposals that they come in.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm completely open to that, right? I'm just looking to be reasonable. I said there's things I don't want in there, right? There's obvious things that we would not want to put in there. I mean, we wouldn't want to cause a nuisance business, right? We don't want a shot in a beer bar selling vapes. That's not what we do. I mean, you can see what we do. We put in quality tenants. It takes longer up here, but hopefully the idea would be we can bring a great tenant and come to you and ask you, what do you guys think of X, Y, and Z? I have 2 proposals.
Yeah, just from a process standpoint with the URA, Chad has cleared, we have 4 steps to sell a building. Chad has cleared the second of the 4 steps, but ever since those tenants dropped out, he's kind of in this limbo position where he's kind of teetering on that second step. If he were to come back, bring a new tenant to go back and do the second step over again, which is what we would need to do. One of the ways to clear that second hurdle is to show community support, both with this group, Trail Citizens, as well as District 1. So just to clarify my answer, per our process, it has to happen, or we have to get community support. Again, because right now we have some signed community support for a use that is now not going to happen because of those tenants dropping out. So by the law of our process, we have to receive that again.
I see a question. Thank you, Gordon. I see a question. Lisa, do you want to unmute and ask?
Thanks, Abby. Yeah, hi. Chad, I was just wondering if we're connected on LinkedIn, but I was just wondering if you could share your email with the group or even just directly to me.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Want to drop it in the chat or?
I'm happy to have you type it in the chat if you'd like.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Over. Yep. Thank you, everybody that's commented. And I think what we're hearing is basically more to come. I feel comfortable, and I hope you all feel comfortable opening this up. I think Chad and Gordon and the URA team have done a lot of due diligence here. I'm excited to see what it could be. I think the possibilities are still out there. We're still really positive. This is still moving forward. And, I think we've all heard that there's definitely some opportunity for community input in this process still. So I think as the neighbors, we got nothing to lose. I think we should go for it. Any other comments or questions or other feedback?
I agree with you.
Thanks, Penny. Okay, great. Chad, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Gordon,
Thanks, Chad.
thank you for coming.
Appreciate it.
We will be in touch, and Gordon will keep us up to date, and we'll next community meeting or whatever we need to do.
All right, August. Sounds great. Thank you both so much. I am going to turn it over to, we have three other very special guests, including our youngest attendee to date, Erin. Hi. I'm going to let you come to the front here.
I'm going to let you guys take one.
Yeah, please. We can do a little work here
Cool,
for you.
thank you so much. Hi, everybody. My name is Erin Tobin. I'm with the Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy. I came here last June.
Just make sure you turn a little bit this way.
Okay.
Just like face kind of this direction. Just make sure you can. Yeah,
This
perfect.
direction?
Perfect. Yep.
Cool. And I'm here with my friend Ray Meyer, who is a born and raised Troy Hillian. So he's here because he is a friend of Riverview Park. He is one of the founders of the Friends of Riverview Park, and that is the group I'm here representing today, besides the Parks Conservancy, whom I work for. And I'm here, so the flyer that I handed out has updates on what's going on in Riverview Park. There are 3 active projects right now that have, there's links to what's going on in Riverview, but that's just like a small piece of what the Friends of Riverview Park has been able to do in the last 8 years of our existence. So Ray Meyer, Mark Masterson, and Ralph Horgan, 3 Northsiders, came to me 8 years ago and said, let's start a friends group, and that's what we did. And since then, we've been able to accomplish a lot in Riverview Park. I understand that that's not in Troy Hill, but it is your Northside Regional Park, and that's where I work as part of my organization. I'm also a neighbor. I live in Spring Hill, so not that far. And tonight, I wanted to come here, and I'm always happy to come to your meetings to give updates on the work that we're doing on the north side, and also be an ally, because I know that you guys have your own parks. I used to play kickball in Cali. I live close. I walk over to your neighborhood every once in a while, and I want to be an ally for advocacy purposes in your parks as well. I know that you guys are working very hard to get your rec center up and running, which is, just to be very clear, a city-run project, but I'm here as a Northside neighbor to be an advocate alongside you. So I'm going to pause to see if anybody has any questions about the work that we do in Riverview Park, the work that my organization does in general. Nothing? Last year you guys had a bunch of questions. Nothing? Okay.
So I think one of the things that we brought up before, and thank you guys. I think one of the things that we brought up before when we had, I think you had approached us about signing a letter of support for a project. So I think one of our neighbors previously had some questions about the Parks Tax Fund.
Yeah, of course.
And maybe potentially using some of those funds to bring back to Troy Hill. So Erin and I have been in communication about having a meeting post our meeting tonight to talk about ways to leverage those funds to see if we can do anything with our parks in Troy Hill, see if there's ways to cross collaborate. So I'm just going to say I look forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So is everybody familiar with the Parks Tax Trust Fund? Okay. So it's a tax for homeowners, and it goes into a fund that can only be spent by the city of Pittsburgh. My organization has been invited by the city to apply for funds, but the money does not go to my organization. We were the organization that advocated for the tax, right? So everybody thinks it goes to us. It does not go to us. We have to ask for that funding. And last year we asked for that funding for a project in Riverview, and we were awarded that, the Valley Refuge Shelter, which is on this handout. And so tonight I'm here to ask for funding, for your support, a letter of support from the Troy Hill Community Group to support our request for Fowler Fields, another Northside project, and Watson's Cabin, another project in Riverview Park. And so Abby and I have been in conversations around how can we leverage funding for Troy Hill from that Parks Tax Trust Fund. I don't work in Troy Hill professionally. I am happy to be here as a volunteer, but I would love to meet with you guys and kind of understand what your priorities are. I do know that the rec center is a priority, and I'd be happy to be an ally and an advocate. But we haven't had any projects in Troy Hill to date. Yes. So I remember a lot with the tax project, when we first got tax on it, they had they had a survey or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was like 6 parks picked, and then they took 3 of them out of it to make it like their priority, the tax bike. So, my numbers may be a little off, but it was similar to that. And our Lookout Park was one of those, and we didn't get it, but why isn't there any tax money going to that park? That's a desperate need. And
So what we did was we ranked all of 173 parks. There's 173 parks in Pittsburgh based on need. Do you remember what number Outlook was?
I don't know, but we were like one of the top 6 or something like that. Like, so why wouldn't they go?
You weren't the top 6. I promise you that because I
Okay.
know what the top 40 are. It wasn't
Okay.
Outlook and Troy Hill. Maybe you were the top 40 or 50.
Okay, maybe.
And so the way that it works, the way that we, the Parks Conservancy, are advocating for is to do the parks in that order. The city has also been doing that, taking that list and chipping away at it and saying, okay, which park needs the most money, and then advocating in those parks, right? I don't know, and I can look it up. When I give Ray this baby, I can look it up. But
I'm sorry?
I think that park was named after Huck Fenwick, the state legislator.
Eventually, they did change it. They said, suggested.
I remember when his grandson,
Yeah.
Huck Fenwick lived on Veronica Street, he was a state legislator. Let me say this, my family's been up here 150 years, so I have so much history, but anyway, I remember when his grandson was trying to call the Huck Fenwick Park. He was a state legislator for years there. But what happened with the whole tax thing was, and believe me, I'm upset, because what was supposed to happen was the tax dollars was supposed to go to the Park Conservancy for them to manage and clean up these parks and fix them. And council got involved, thought that was a bad thing, that's their job. But they wanted to split it off, that wasn't just the major parks, which was playgrounds like Lookout. We have Marmaduke and Brighton Heights, we quite a few all over, as you all know, in the city. Cowley Recreation Center, you keep talking about, I went there on Friday nights when they had dances and swam in the pool, and that's where I learned to swim. They had swimming classes. But what they're doing is they kind of like take each project and look at how much need is there, and put it on a list and number. And that's what happens sometimes, parks get pushed back. What I would say is, and Aaron can look into it, and also talk with Bobby Wilson's office.
I have, but I'm just saying, like, both of our parks are no good. And yeah, it may not as big as some of these other parks, so it might not need as much money, but that
But at the
doesn't mean
same
that,
time.
that's right, our parks just.
why aren't you saying investment? So can I ask you this? So are your parks in need of major projects or better maintenance? Because when we did the park, okay, major, okay.
There's nothing there, and what's there is like, if you go
It's
back
not-
to it,
not
yeah,
good shape.
I mean, you have 3 swings, some little broken up play area that the kids can be caught on at all times.
Sure.
A little spiral thing, and that's it.
Okay.
Like, that's what we have in Troy Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's fair to tax all of us and not look at us, look to our neighborhood also and say, hey, these people need something for their children also.
Right.
Erin, can I ask just a quick clarification?
Absolutely.
The flyer you handed out, it has the Valley Refuge. What's the other, and you're asking for, you want a letter of support for that, and what was the other one?
So that's just the update on what's currently happening in the
Oh, I
park.
see, okay.
The what my organization is requesting funding for in the 2025 budget is for Fowler Field, which is another
I got
park
you,
on the
Fowler
north
Field.
side,
Mhm.
and then Watson's Cabin, which is another project in Riverview Park. And we're not actually asking for park tax dollars, we're just asking for general support because we're going to go after foundation dollars for that. So we're just asking for Troy Hill to say, yeah, we support the Parks Conservancy in doing that project, but we're only asking for funding from the Parks Tax Trust Fund for Fowler Field, which is another park on the north side.
I'm trying to clarify that.
Yes, sir.
So whoever cries the most, bitches the most gets the money, right?
No.
No, let's be realistic, seriously.
Well, let's have this conversation.
Let's
That's
be
not-
realistic
that's
here.
not- that's
You're
not the
saying
case.
Fowler Field, okay?
It ranked higher than the Troy Hill Fields.
Why?
Because,
Because they moan and bitch.
Yeah,
No,
let
Most-
her answer,
No.
let her answer why.
no,
Why?
that's not why.
Give me a
That's not
reason
why.
why. Why is it
Okay,
ranked higher?
so
No
we,
swearing in front of babies.
and I hear you, and I hear your frustration. I hear you.
24 years of frustration, come on.
No, I hear
Okay,
you.
let her answer why.
So we went and we looked at all 173 parks, 173 parks in Pittsburgh, right? So there's
Okay.
90 neighborhoods, there's 173
I thought it
parks.
was 88 neighborhoods, forget.
Okay, we talked, you're from city planning, right? Okay, all right. We got Mackenzie here. She's from city planning. There's 90 neighborhoods. We looked at all of those parks. We looked at the condition of all of those parks. I promise you, you may not believe me, your parks are in better shape than some other parks in the city.
Cowie, right there.
I promise you.
Yeah, Cali.
I promise you.
Come on.
I promise you. You want to
So
go on?
you're saying
Do you want to go on a
Valley
park
Refuge
tour with me?
is-
We
Yeah.
can go on a park
I
tour.
worked for the city.
Wait a minute,
for 25
Valley-
years. I know.
I trust you, and I believe that you're frustrated. I am also frustrated.
Hey,
I work all in the
wait,
city.
frustration's ridiculous.
I-
It's past my life.
Are
but
you
what about
saying
the young
Valley
generation?
Refuge was in worse shape than Cali?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Cowi's
they brought
condemned.
it out.
What could be worse than that?
So it's okay. All right.
There's
Hold
more
on.
to it than just.
It's more to it. So Riverview is a regional park. So
Yeah.
the way that things are weighted in terms of what's the word I'm looking for? So Riverview serves a broader population than Cali does, right? And so it gets weighted in a different way. It gets weighted higher. Cali serves a neighborhood, right? It's considered a
Cali
neighborhood
also
park.
serves North Side, Spring Hill, Spring Garden. That's equal to Brighton Heights.
And Dutchtown.
Sure. And I'm not here to argue. I'm not
just right.
and I'm also not the one who made these metrics. Just so you guys know, I'm just explaining the answer. I'm not. Just so you know, I'm explaining the answer to your question. Okay. So I promise you, because I don't just work on the north side. I work in Homewood. I work in Belts Hoover. Those parks are in way worse shape than our north side parks. I promise you.
They just spent how many millions on Willie Stargell Field?
In the Hill District. Or
in
will it
Homewood.
start?
It's in
Homewood.
Homewood.
Okay,
Come
I'm
on.
sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. But that project's actually not complete, and that's only one park in Homewood. I hear you. I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay.
But we have two and neither of them are good.
Well, here's what we're asking, and I understand, again, understand your frustration.
Yes, of course.
We're just not, I've been a part of Northside Leadership Conference for over 30-some years. Sammy and I grew up together, a block away. He lived across the alley from us.
And I live at Frederick's Old House, by the way.
Yeah, he does. He lives in, and I want those plaques out on the sidewalk.
That was my dead boy.
The Davy Lawrence plaque. But I was there when they put those in the concrete. What we're asking for and what we do on the north side, the Northside Leadership Conference was created, and if you liked him or didn't like him, Tom Murphy, when he came back from the Peace Corps, and before he became a state legislator, realized that we had all these north side neighborhood groups, and they were doing their own separate thing. And he said, when he was in the Peace Corps, there was 5 villages. And what his job was to bring the 5 villages together to work together to rebuild. And he looked at the north side as all these neighborhood groups to work together to rebuild, and we'd be stronger, which ended up to be realistic because not only did we make Tom Murphy mayor and the neighborhood groups, but we also got Dan Honorata in as county executive, and we got a lot of development on the north side finally. But saying that, as Northside Leadership Conference and all the other neighborhood groups, we understand what we're asking for is a letter of support for Riverview Park, which is not just Brighton Heights. It's Brighton Heights, it's Observatory Hill, it's Brightwood, it's Perry South, but it's also Troy Hill. When I was a kid, we went over to Riverview Park for everything.
How'd you get there?
Literally, Mrs. Rosada, the dentist's office, Mrs. Rosada was our Cub Scout leader. She had us bicycle over the river. We bicycled
That's not doable there.
up Spring Hill and whatever, but I'm just
Our
saying,
children can't get to Riverview
the
Park.
park is the same park that people use for graduation parties, for picnics. What we want to do at Watson Cabin is have, and actually Riverview Park is the only park in the city now that you're allowed to camp in. So what we're doing is reaching out to Venture Outdoors and the Girl Scout groups to use that area by Watson Cabin to camp. So kids would have the camping experience really right in the city. They don't have to travel. A lot of them can't afford to travel. So that's why we're looking to rebuild the old Watson Cabin, which the originally farm cabin of that land. I understand, and believe me, when you guys need support, we'll be here to give you support. You need a letter, I'll have Brighton Heights write you a letter like that. And that's what we've been doing all the neighborhoods. We will go to Northside Leadership Conference and ask them for a support letter. I understand the frustration. Believe me, if you saw Riverview Park 4 years ago, and even now, we're still fighting Public Works using it as a garbage dump by Valley Refuge. 20 years, was it 2006, when they blew up Davis Avenue Bridge. I had the first meeting 2 weeks after that. It took us this long to finally get funding to rebuild the bridge, and it's not even a full bridge. It's a pedestrian bridge, which my wife is still mad at me about. So I understand what you're saying. And again, being, I can't emphasize this enough. Like Sam knows, we were here when the VFW burned down. My dad probably had the first meeting and the first fundraiser to rebuild this thing. My family's been up here forever. It was my grandparents, my parents. My parents are buried in Beckley Cemetery.
I understand that, but.
It's just so, what I'm just saying is that we'll be here to support you also. We're not asking you to show up at the meeting, whatever. We're just asking for a letter of support. Because the more letters we get, the better it is that we get on that list.
And I said this every time I come to this meeting, I'm ready to start a coalition with you guys. There is a handful of neighbors in Spring Garden and Spring Hill, and I forget the name of the person in Troy Hill. It's not you, but you were going to be invited, Mackenzie. We want to do some green space stuff. We're ready to organize and do that coalition that we've done in Riverview.
You're looking for green space, these kids need a playground.
Well, but that's part,
not a playground.
that's part of it though. We're talking about Michael Flynn, which is at the bottom of Troy Hill, right? We're talking about Callie. We're talking about Gardner. Like those are in our map. Those are in our space where and I talked about this before I went on maternity leave with Abby. Like we have a group of people and I have brought that up at this meeting and nobody has contacted me. I have left my contact information. I want to be your partner and your ally, but every time I come here, nobody wants to sign up for those meetings with me. So like I'm here telling you as your neighbor, I'm not just a lady from the East End in the park. I live right there. I want to work with you, but if you don't want to work with me, we like you said, the squeaky wheel. Yeah. We got to get together and work on it. Like, I want to have a meeting with you and figure out what we can do.
I think what Penny's saying is our priorities are a little different.
Absolutely. I understand that.
So,
but there can be two things can be true at once. You can have a priority for your neighborhood, and you can also have a priority, like Ray was saying, a letter of support for the bigger and broader north side. That's what we're saying.
Question. Did we write a letter last year?
No, you guys did not.
You were here before.
We did not, and we had some board members when we talked about it that had some pretty some feelings similar to this that they felt that funding and prioritization was being given to other neighborhoods. Now I understand that we're all here for the greater good, right? One positive project lifts us all up in the north side. We are part of the city. We are part of the community. I think that there's a lot of feedback we've heard in this meeting. What I would ask is that Aaron and I take some time after this meeting. We already have been in communication about discussing this. Aaron is willing to, of course, look at our priorities and see what we think. So we as a neighborhood can bring those projects to her. Again, we can see what overlaps. She is working in a finite space here. This is also involved with DOMI and the city planning and city, like this is so much bigger than just Erin and her team or Friends of Riverview Park. So I think this is an ongoing conversation, and us as the neighbors need to be willing to leverage any connection we can to make our improvements. So Erin, what I would like to do after our community meeting, we'll get together as a board. We'll discuss next steps. We will specifically discuss the letter of support. I will report back to you on that. And then when I follow up with you about that, we'll also set time to have our meeting. How does that sound?
Yes, and can I just say for the record, I understand that you guys don't want to give letter of support because you're not seeing the investment in your own neighborhood. I completely understand.
Wait, don't think I don't want to give you a letter.
Well, I understand the frustration.
No, I'm just saying, I just want to know where our tax dollars, I believe we should take care of Riverview Park. That is our big park in our city. It's important. I agree with that.
But you should also see it in your neighborhood.
That's right.
I promise you, I understand that. I totally understand, and I understand the frustration.
I'm tired of seeing all these, the north down by Allegheny General.
Yeah, that fountain. Why is that a thing?
That whole part.
I'm so sorry. You were trying to speak before. I'm so sorry.
I would say it would also help to give us some of the information that you're speaking about how these parks are ranked, where ours are ranked, how often are those reassessed, how close are we? Information, if we have it, it's All
then
online.
just share us where it is.
I can,
Thank you.
I can share. I will reshare that with you guys. It's all
Great.
online. Yep. It's not hidden. I understand it feels like it is.
The public stuff is hidden in plain sight. I look at capital budgets all the time. I'm very aware of like where public resources are. You know as well as I do, they're hidden in plain sight. If you don't know where they are, you don't know where to find them. So just share that information. That's a really great start.
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to do that.
I just wanted to say I have one comment on the Zoom. You know, more parks in the city helps us all. Just because we have been bad about advocating for our own parks doesn't mean we should spite our neighbors. Thank you, Ben. Does anybody have any other comments or questions? Oh, yeah, Mackenzie, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The Troy Hill group.
Yeah.
I think that's entirely up to you guys and whether or not you can manage, like foundations, sometimes those grants can be a little cumbersome. I think it really just depends on what, and also obviously like keeping in touch with the city, like who's gonna manage those grants and where's that money actually gonna live?
Well, you wanna look at your politicians too. You wanna look at like your state legislator, see if there's, I mean, we've done it for state money, you know. I mean, actually the bridge was a federal state program. And that's why it's a walking pedestrian bridge, because they wouldn't give us money for a vehicle bridge, but someone from our area knew about this park money that was out there for bridges and, you know, and it was mostly federal and state money. So you want to talk to you, I'm not sure, Emily Kincaid's no longer your state legislator. Who's up here?
Arian?
You want to talk to them
Okay.
to see if there's any kind of funding. I mean, and that's what we did. We went to Wayne Fontana, we went to Emily Kincaid, and fought for them. And the bridge, Davis Avenue Bridge is 98% federal and state money. So, now I have one other question for everyone. I have a desk, an original desk from the Troy Hill Public Grade School. It was tore down in 1961 when I was in first grade, and then I had to start going to spring garden. If anyone has thoughts of starting a Troy Hill Museum, please let me know. My wife wants me to get it. Has the inkwell on it, the whole bed.
Oh my gosh.
The old firehouse.
Very
good.
My wife keeps telling me, "What are you doing with that desk?" I mean, I had.
Don't get rid of it.
They were just giving them away, and my father went up there and refinished a bunch of them and handed them out to people. So if you want, and then the other thing is on your firehouse, always remember there's a community development fund. And we gave, and when I say we, I chaired the community development fund and I chair the loan review committee. But we gave money for loans for Scratch, for your old deli on Rialta and Tor, a few businesses. When this gentleman's talking about the old firehouse, there is funding and low interest loans through that community development fund. So,
I will happily pass along his email and you can connect. I think that would be great.
okay.
That's awesome.
And I want to thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry I got excited.
No worries.
Aaron's very passionate.
I really
about
care,
this
and I'm
stuff.
sorry I was like, I just really like, I hear you, I hear your frustration. I live in a neighborhood that is also feeling frustrated, and I work in a lot of neighborhoods that are frustrated. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you, you three, and thank you to our youngest attendee for being so patient. We're tipping to the just past the 1 hour mark. How's everyone doing? We feeling good? Looking alive out there? Okay, great. I see people hanging on Zoom. So I think our friends from Councilman Wilson's office, Julianne, I see you on there. You want to unmute and can you give us like a 2-second commercial on anything you got going on?
Sure. I mean, I don't want to step on your toes if you're going to talk about Cali Rec, and that's more than a 2-minute commercial. So
I am indeed going to talk about Cali Rec. Honestly, I'm saving that for the very last.
Okay, then you guys do that. The only thing I really, and I sort of to piggyback on what Aaron just talked about with funding, budget season is here. Tonight is actually the first of many community engagement meetings that the city's holding for budget. So I will put this information in the chat, but there is a budget engagement session this coming Monday, June 17th from 6 to 8 p.m. at King Elementary in the Central North Side. So this is a really good opportunity to hear about the process, what a capital budget is versus an operating budget, and then to communicate the things that you want to see in those budgets. I mean, I did get the Troy Hill group's requests to our office, so we're working on our proposals, but it's also good to let the administration know, and each department will be there to field your questions and to let them know what you're looking to see and how your tax dollars will be spent. Part of that is parks tax funds that go to repairing and putting in new infrastructure in our parks, but you know, that's also Cali Rec putting up a new building, things like that. So I will put that information in the chat for you to share. I encourage you to come. There's also an engage page where you can fill out your desires for the capital budget, and they're collecting all that data to inform the process when they start working on the actual allocations for money. So that is the most important thing that is going on in the city right now.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Anybody have any questions for Councilman Wilson's office?
I have a question.
Yes.
Troy Hill Road.
Yes.
Weeds, grass. We hired 100 public work employees. How come nothing's getting done?
I think I know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that question, but I think I know what's going to be said is 311. Am I right, Julianne?
Don't work.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of heard some of it. So there's some concerns about overgrowth, like are these on city properties? If they're city-owned-
Troy Hill Road is looking a bit of a mess. I thought about that the other day when I was driving down it too.
Okay, I mean, I'm happy to put a 311 in and also let our DPW staff know. I mean, they're pretty responsive. I mean, I've seen it I don't know if it's because I'm putting it in, but if it's a city-owned parcel, we can certainly put those 311s in. If it's a privately owned property, that's going to take a little bit longer because they would need to be cited. But still putting that through 311 is the first step to get that process started.
So, Julianne, can you drop your email in the chat? I will personally put in a 311 and I will copy you on it so that you can forward it to the appropriate parties.
Yeah, I'll put my email in.
Great. I know it's starting to look, I mean, I love Pittsburgh this time of year. It gets so green, but then it just overgrows. And I don't want them to trim it back too much because there's honeysuckle there. It smells really good. But then there's lots of poison ivy. So it's a mixed bag. Yes.
I wanted to thank Julie for helping. I contacted Pat Transit about getting a shelter at the Lowry Loop. They said no. I contacted Congresswoman Powell's office, not Congresswoman, whatever, State Rep Powell.
Yep.
No money for a shelter for the Lowry Loop. I contacted Bobby Wilson's office. No money for a shelter for the Lowry Loop. But I kept at it, and Julianne contacted Forestry, and they're going to put some trees there. So it's better than nothing.
That's
and maybe
yeah.
the Lowry Loop will change a little bit.
I love that. So, Julianne, thank you for helping get some trees at our Lowry bus loop. That's
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I know I wish we could get something a little more, more shaded, but I think trees will help. So, like he mentioned that they said fall, so we'll just keep me looped in, and if that's not happening, just let me know and we'll follow up with Forestry.
Amazing. Okay, anything else for Councilman Wilson's office? If nothing pressing, please hold as we get through the rest of this evening. I would love to, first of all, I'm going to thank Jennifer from West Banco and Shelley. They're here to talk about fraud, but we're actually going to punt that till our August meeting because, as it turns out, we have a lot to discuss every 2 months. However, we do have two special guests from the URA. We've heard a lot from the URA tonight. Do you two want to come up and introduce yourselves, and I'll pull up your slides, and you can talk about your programs? I have them. I do. I have them on this. I'm gonna pull them up right now so people on Zoom can see.
All right. Great. Sounds good. Hi everyone. My name is Eric Bernheimer. I'm in the housing department at the URA. So what I'm here to talk to you about today is our affordable housing initiatives and related programs and survey as well. This is Natalie.
Hi, I live down the road, by the way, right before Penn Brewery, right by the Troy Hill sign. So I live in the area as well.
Yeah.
I'm just here to assist Eric, but we did want to present to you some of our programs at the URA. If you want to spread the word, if you want to be a first-time homeowner or home repair, go through the spiel. Take away.
All right. So the URA gets what's called the Housing Opportunity Fund, It is $10 million we get each year from the city that comes from your tax dollars. And we're here today to tell you about the different opportunities that it gives, and also get your feedback and help decide where that money should be going. So this is just a little bit of background on it, just showing that it changes over time, and new programs are launched largely from community feedback. So if you take it to the next slide, please. So the way it works, the Housing Opportunity Fund, there are 17 board members that come from all across Pittsburgh, and all have different backgrounds. They represent different classes of people and industry and different types of homeowners, renters, etc. And it's basically just saying that pretty much anything affordable housing can be done through this. So let your mind wander. You can definitely come up with things that we haven't thought of. Next up, so everything is based on what's called area median income. This is a metric of how much, it's Pittsburgh, but also the Allegheny County, sort of larger, how much the average household income is. So it's based on household. So say there's 4 people in your house, you look here, and then most of our programs are for 80% or below. So 100% would be the average household at that. So 80% at 4 would be 80,960. That would be the maximum you could make to take part in most of our programs. So it's really just an effort to make sure that the people that need the money most get it. In fact, 50% have to go to the lowest 30%, and then a quarter goes to 50 and a quarter to 80. So really trying to target the people that need our help the most. This is just an overview of all the different amounts of money. We can skip right past that.
I'm happy to share this presentation to anybody who's interested afterwards.
Yeah,
I know there's a lot of numbers.
And if you are interested in any of these programs in particular, we have all the flyers up here, and I'd be more than willing to give you all the extra information that we can use, and what your first steps would be to apply, anything like that. So first up, our first program that I'm going to be talking about is our down payment and closing cost program, assistance program. This is a program that gives people money. It is a forgivable loan, so that you don't have to pay it back. It gives up to $7,500 to purchase a home in the city of Pittsburgh. That's another thing. All of these programs are only within the city. And this program has helped over 100 people, I know for sure, but probably even more than that, purchase a home within Pittsburgh. Down payment, closing costs is one of the biggest barriers of entry for people buying homes. People don't just have thousands of dollars to be able to put down. So this program can make a really big difference. Next up is our homeowners assistance program. This is by far our most popular program. This is the home repair program that we have. It gives up to $35,000 to City of Pittsburgh residents to rehab, refurbish their home. Important to note about this is that it is done prioritized based on need. So we're talking about code violations, houses with children under 5, severe water or structural damage. These are going to be the things that we target first and foremost with this, because we do get so many applications per year that we can't fill them all. Last year we had over 600 applications. So right now this program is not accepting applications. It's the only one that isn't open year round, because we got those 600 applications in 1 month. So if you're interested in this program, we get you signed up on the list, and we'll be able to we'll be able to give you more information about that. Next up is the Housing Stabilization Program. This is a program catered around making sure that people don't become homeless or home insecure. So it gives money to renters or to homeowners, renters at 50% and homeowners at 80% or below, so that they can stay in their home. So this is things like if they're back on rent, they're back on their mortgage, they can't pay their utilities. This will Yeah, I'm getting there. So this gives you money to make sure that you can do those things and stay in your home. The only exception to that, the only thing that's different, is it can also be used for first month's rent. So it can get people out of a bad place and into a home. This program is actually run by Action Housing. We just supply the money and some of the logistics behind it. And if you or anyone that you know is in dire, desperate need and you need help right now, the best way is there's a housing stabilization center downtown. The address is there. I'm happy to give you more information about that. Showing up in person Monday to Friday, I think it's 9 to 4, is the best way to get immediate, very fast help. Kind of tied with that is the legal assistance program. This program gives free legal assistance to homeowners and tenants in Pittsburgh. For tenants, that means mediation, limited and full representation to try and prevent eviction. And then for homeowners, that's foreclosure prevention and tangled title. I'm going to take a second to talk about tangled title because it's a big problem in Pittsburgh and not everybody knows about it. Tangled title is when you live in a house that doesn't technically belong to you. So say your parents had the house, they pass away, but didn't have a will written up. So your name is not placed onto that will. That's called a tangled title. And if you have problems in your house, you can end up losing your house because you don't technically own it. So we give free legal assistance to make sure that that doesn't happen. And there's been a big push citywide to get more awareness on this issue. The other thing that this does is we have a program called Lawyer of the Day, where basically in a bunch of different court districts, all evictions happen on the same day. So we have a lawyer that goes there and provides their services free of charge to everyone who's getting evicted. And it's hundreds of people a month. It is one of the biggest things that we're doing, and we're trying to expand it into all courtrooms in Pittsburgh, but right now it's only some.
What was that term you used for that?
Tangled title?
Tangled title.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know somebody that,
Yeah, oh, everybody does. It's a big thing in Pittsburgh because we have such an old housing stock. It's a big problem around here. Next up is the newest program that we have. This is the Small Landlord Fund. This program is aimed around creating more affordable housing for rent in Pittsburgh. So landlords that have houses in the city of Pittsburgh, 10 or less, that's what we call small for small landlord, can get up to $20,000 per unit, $100,000 total per project to refurbish and upgrade those rental properties so that they are habitable for people. And the stipulation on that is the landlord doesn't need to have any sort of income requirement, but the people that live there, the landlord has to agree to either give it to HCV holders, that's Section 8, or people at 80% or below, like our other programs.
how long do they have to give it to them? Term limit that they have to?
I believe it is 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be the same person, but it has to be at that metric. And we do check that on a year-to-year basis to make sure that they're following what they're saying they're
What
following.
about inspecting the houses?
Hmm?
You're giving all this money for them to fix them up.
Yeah.
Do they all actually really fix them up all the time?
Yeah, we have a quality.
There's a lot of Section 8 houses that are pure scum.
And we understand that, and that's something we're trying to avoid. We at the URA have an in-house quality control and inspections division, and they go, they're very involved in the process of actually doing the upgrades. We also, for our projects, they don't have to, but generally we use contractors that are pre-approved by us, have done good work for us. We know we can trust them. And then we do continue to do those inspections. So we make sure that they are following that, staying up to code, because just because someone doesn't make a ton of money doesn't mean they deserve to live in unsafe conditions. We don't want these landlords running off with our money. Mm-hmm. So we keep diligent track of that to make sure that that doesn't happen. Sort of expanding on that, this is the rental gap program. We're transitioning more to our developmental side. This is a program that isn't really for individuals. This is more for developers and nonprofits to create more affordable rental properties in Pittsburgh. That's again like for HCV, Section 8, and sort of that 80% and below. They can use this to make, if they're making a really large property, some of it can be market rate, but the vast majority has to be affordable. And we also have a lot of efforts to make sure that those units are, at least a certain amount of them are accessible for people with disabilities. And then finally is our for sale development program. This is kind of just the other side, where that one was for renting. This is the same, but for affordable houses for purchase. But the same sort of standards of making sure they're selling at a rate that is affordable to people that need it to be affordable. And then, so that's all the different programs and that are involved in the Housing Opportunity Fund. This is our survey. You can tell us which of those programs deserve more money, which of them need less money, which, if there's new programs that you've thought of that would do us well. And so the thing is, we work downtown. That's where our office is located. I live in the south side. She lives in the north side, but a lot of the people that work at the URA, only some of them live in the north side. You all know your neighborhood better than I do. We want to hear from you to know what this community needs, because we have an idea, right? But you know better. So it's really important that you do this survey, because it is a big factor on how we fund these programs. That the slide before that I sort of glossed past because it's just a wall of numbers, they change every year. We change the amounts every year, and because it's $10 million always each year, some go down and some go up. So it's really, really important that we hear your feedback. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious. We work at West Bank and right around the corner, and obviously, you know, people come to me, they talk to me about their financial needs, you know, the problems that they're having. The information within those slides is incredible, and I'm just wondering if there any way that you could share these slides, you know, with her to the newsletter, because I would love
absolutely
to be able, you know, to and you know, you've come here and just a couple months ago talked about some of the URA grant programs and things like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is definitely something that we would love to be able to say, oh, there's the need. Yes, these are the people you want to talk to.
I appreciate you saying that so much, because that's part of why we come to these types of meetings in particular, because you all are the ones that are most invested in your community. You're the ones that know who might need this help, who can spread this information, because, you know, we don't get much of a marketing budget. But there's so much money out here for people to take advantage of that can do a lot at, you know, helping this city and helping the residents of this city, I should say. So
we've got big mouths.
We can spread it.
yeah, and that's so perfect, and I appreciate that.
I just wanted to say I was a recipient of the early HAP grant.
Oh, awesome.
When I first bought my house, I was broke as can be, and it allowed me to redo a bunch of safety things as well as make my house more energy efficient. It really was like, Sam, you asked about like inspections, and they like did walkthroughs with me and talked to me through processes because I didn't know anything about anything, and it helped me make my house like safer, more energy efficient, and livable. And because West Banco came to our last meeting, I actually learned about another program you guys had and got a friend connected with it, and they applied and got in, and it's like they might be the first.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So
Yeah, and
like my favorite.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing that. And that brings up another important thing. We don't have any like restrictions on any of this besides what I said. So people can utilize other programs and our program. There's a lot of home repair programs going out there. And I know personally people have gotten our program and another organization's program and been able to put, you know, tons of money into their house. So, you know, this doesn't like bar you from doing anything else.
I've got 4 grants, including all of these, up to like $30,000 to get people into.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and while we're talking about homeownership, so I was very specifically talking about our Housing Opportunity Fund programs. There is one other program that's like kind of special right now that I want to share with you, even though when you're doing the survey, like it's not a part of that, it's its own thing. It's called Own PGH. You might have heard about it.
Yes. We actually had Shelley. She presented at our last meeting about it.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
She presented on, yeah.
Oh, do I need to present it, or do we all know it?
Always more.
Yeah,
always more.
Give a quick commercial.
Absolutely. So this is a program that a lot of people pair with our down payment program. You can get up to $90,000 as a grant to purchase a new home in Pittsburgh. It's pretty much as good as it gets. It's based on COVID money, so it's going away fast, but we've helped over 100 families move into homes that they've purchased. The only stipulation is that they have to sell it at an affordable rate to someone that needs it at an affordable rate when they are, you know, planning on moving out of it. And, you know, they have to pre-qualify for a loan with the bank, but whatever their loan was going to be, it's up to $90,000 less. So it's a big deal, and you can do it with our down payment program. So you can get almost $100,000 towards buying a home, all is grant money. So I just wanted to share that with you. If we have a few moments, I'd love to get people to do the survey.
So we have a couple, I have like two tiny updates that I want to go through, and then we'll end the meeting and let people come see you.
No worries.
How does
That sounds
sound?
perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
Amazing.
I just get
know.
excited about the survey.
No, I love a survey. I love a survey. Do you want to add something?
If you guys have any inquiries about our programs, or if, our most popular program is the home repair program. If you know anyone who is interested in that program, like he said, it's not open, but I can give you my email because I work directly with all of these programs, and I can, give you the information. I also have a bunch of other resources for other organizations whose programs home repair programs might be open. So just, when you're doing our survey, I can give you our email, but it's very important if you could please do our survey so we can know where you guys want the funds to go.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna have you come over and you can just type your email in the chat for Zoom.
Yeah.
Hold tight, everybody. If you want to use one of their iPads or do the survey after this meeting, we'll get to that in a second. We also will include the survey in our newsletter, so you can go ahead, just enter it in there
Thank
and
you for
send
that.
it off.
Yeah, Natalie's definitely the one you want to talk to about the home repair program. She does a lot with that.
Well, you
It's a team effort. It's a team effort.
It is a team effort,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Well, appreciate all your time.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate a little bit more time
Amazing.
after the meeting to the survey. But,
Yes, thank you. We're gonna get back to you in 1 second.
Awesome. Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
They should give you one.
I can give you her email.
Awesome.
There you go.
You're the best. Thank you.
You can reach me through that.
Great. Okay, super quick updates. Number one, I'm sure you saw the apartment building at the top of Troy Hill Road. Zoning board denied their variance. Okay, so really quick, this actually brings a lot of uncertainty. I've reached out to Joe, the architect who presented from TKA Architects. He was at our meeting in March. I've reached out a couple times for an update. I have not heard an update. So unfortunately, I have no information from the developer or the architect to share with you tonight. I am not clear if they are removing the 4th floor or if he will pursue selling the building to another entity or developer or individual who will then try to go through zoning again. I honestly cannot overemphasize the amount of information I'm lacking in this. I truly do not have an update on that front. I am happy to take comments and questions after the meeting about that. You can always email our troyhillpittsburgh@gmail.com, and I will continue to bring updates about that to the meetings as I can. Unfortunately, I don't have a good one today. The other piece of information, Cali Rec Center, Julianne alluded to this earlier. So they have completed the feasibility studies. If you remember, the Deputy Mayor, Jake Pollock, came to our meeting last February 2023. He gave us a work plan. These were supposed to be done in fall 2023, so this timeline has slipped a little. The geotechnical studies and the other studies are done at this point. We understand they have found no meaningful conditions that are going to hold back, no sinkholes, no other things. They also verify what we know, which is that part of that structure is holding up Getman Street. It's kind of braced against that wall there. So again, we know, kind of like as we suspected before, that this is a more complicated build and demolition than we thought. Morgan, can you give us like a 30-second budget update just to say where our money is at?
Okay, so as of right now, for this year, the capital budget, we have $750,000 of ARPA funding remaining, and we have $1 million, and I believe bond funding, but another source. The good news is that there's a bid open now for design services now. So for like I don't know, somebody coming into the design services for the new building. Those, depending on the bids that the city gets in, it's open now. They believe that's going to take up the rest of our ARPA money, so we will actually be able to use our remaining American Rescue Plan funds, and they will hopefully not be moved again. So that's actually very, very good news. And with that, there will be some sort of community engagement, re-engagement process, and we're advocating very hard for that to be like a full re-engagement. But the good news is that we will actually hopefully use the ARPA funds that we have left. And then we've talked to Councilman Wilson's office about supporting additional capital funding for next budget year. I think that's the big thing.
Amazing. Thank you, Morgan. So good news. Again, we're behind the timeline a little bit that was earlier proposed. Not surprised. This is a complicated project. However, we do have that ARPA funding remaining. We're going to hopefully spend that down. There's that proposal out for design services. And of course, as you recall, we had some meetings before. Essentially, we're going to get the community back together. We're going to be looking at specific design questions with the city. Very excited to see this moving forward, and we were going to continue to push on that. Pat asked in the chat, the city is not speaking on Cali. Pat, that's the most up-to-date information we have that I'm sure Julianne was going to share. So if you have further questions, we can definitely touch on that, or we can honestly forward it to our community engagement specialist from the city to get further clarification. But that's what we've got at the moment. I will be sharing the design, the technical, they gave us the geo reports and everything. So when the newsletter goes out, I'm going to put that on Google Drive, and I'll link to that for anybody who's curious. They're many hundreds of pages long. I can totally understand them, but if you are interested in that, feel free to dive in. Okay, I think literally the last thing I just wanted to say was save the day for Pigtoberfest, which is September 21st. It's a Saturday. If you were at our yard sale, you know that one of our neighbors, Sean, brought together an amazing group of vendors. She's going to be doing the same thing for Pigtoberfest. We're going to be bringing artists, craft makers, food trucks. So we're really expanding this event. So please mark your calendars for Saturday, September 21st. We usually hold it in October, but we're always rained out. So we're moving it up to September in the hopes of some better weather. With that, that's it. I am so thankful for all of you for being so patient and listening to all the great information we have. Please, again, find us on Facebook, find us in the email, find us on our newsletter, whatever method. Let us know if you have any questions. And thank you so much for attending. Stick around if you're in person, and you can do our survey. Otherwise, online, don't forget to do the survey from the URA. Have a great night, everybody.